I'm here with a very extremely positive review. So I just saw the movie Baby Driver, directed by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright probably is my favorite filmmaker out there today, probably my favorite filmmaker of all time. His last 4 movies have all been straight 10 out of 10 aces in my book. He started out with Shaun of the Dead, which is one of the funniest horror comedies ever made, Hot Fuzz, which is one of the funniest comedy action movies ever made, and The World's End, which is another really funny movie that even has a bit more emotion to it, and one of probably my personal favorite of all of his. You also have Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is a movie that it's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but I've always really enjoyed. Has a really colorful, really well-edited style to it, just like his other movies. And now we have Baby Driver. This is one that I was really excited for. And then, yeah, I saw it opening night, and it was amazing. I really hope everyone goes and sees this movie. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go see Despicable Me 3. I will say I saw that movie too, and between the two, I would more want to go see Baby Driver again. In fact, I'm probably going to see it again. It's a 10 out of 10. I'm going to just flat out say it right there and then. 10 out of 10 movie. It's probably going to end up being my favorite movie this year. It was amazing. And by the way, there's not going to be spoilers in this. I'm just going to go over some quick details about the movie. An amazing car chase opens the film, which is the best way to open any movie. Not a car chase, but just something that sucks you in right away. You get an idea of who your main character is. You also get introduced to Jon Hamm's character. You also get introduced to, I don't remember what the actress's name was, but you get introduced to the characters that are going to be appearing in the movie. Baby is a character that is really good at driving. You get that right away. You also get a lot more about his character, like with his whole thing about listening to music. There's a scene where he goes and gets coffee right after the car chase, which is, the shot that he does in this scene is actually a complete duplicate of his scene that he did in Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead, there was a scene where it was all done in one shot of him walking down the street. They do the exact same thing in Baby Driver. He walks down the street, goes and gets coffee, heads to the warehouse, and then it's a done deal. Then there's one more car chase later in the movie, one more setup where they're robbing from someone. And then, well, that one doesn't go completely to plan. It still works out, but it's not something Baby's used to. The opening scene contrasts this scene really well with the included scene of him walking down the street again to get coffee, but this time you can tell that Baby's in a completely different mood. It's very similar to the contrast that was done in Shaun of the Dead. It's done even better here, and it's just really well shot, and you right away get an idea of what Baby is, of what his morals are, what he's looking for in life, and you think that he's done with that life and that he starts moving on to something else. And then he doesn't, you know, obviously he gets sucked in, and I mean, if anyone's seen the trailer, you kind of know that he's not done until, you know, you gotta have more movie, obviously. Then you have, her name is Deborah, or Debbie, and they bond right away over music. They have a very simplistic love story. It's almost like a Disney movie, but it works really well. I don't know what it is, but you know, you learn enough about these characters and you know that they're just perfect for each other. And this movie isn't really the type of movie that needs to focus on that. It's focusing on a lot of other aspects about the movie. It's about two characters who are kind of lost in a world that they both don't want to be in, and they want to escape from it. At one point that there is a villain, you know, Kevin Spacey, you kind of think he's a villain. He ends up not really being the villain. He ends up being a little more sympathetic, and there's even like a line drop that's kind of silly. You know, he says something like, "I was in love once." It's a bit silly, but it works. It works really well. All the characters are really great, especially Jamie Foxx, who's just this despicable villain. Right from the beginning, he's just horrible, and you know right away that this guy isn't normal. You can see it in Baby's expression, and you can just see it also in Jon Hamm's expression, which he gives an amazing performance. There's a scene at a diner between Jamie Foxx and Jon Hamm. Jamie Foxx is basically telling Jon Hamm that he knows exactly why he's in this business, and Jon Hamm is just fuming. And it's a really tense scene in the movie. The whole movie has this really big tension to it. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. The first car chase moves smoothly by, and you know, it's like any other car chase, you're really excited, and there's actually probably a lot of influence from Mad Max Fury Road for how the shots were set up and how it was all paced really well. Honestly, excellent car chase. The second one is way more tense because when things start to go wrong, you start freaking out right away. That's just how well balanced this movie is. You show the first one, then you show the second one, you get more tense. And by the ending of the movie, you're really tense because everything's not going right, but you stick with Baby throughout the entire movie and you're hoping for him to get out of this situation. There's a guy who Baby lives with who is his guardian, and this guy is a deaf man. It's a great scene where they're actually talking in sign language, and I can't think of many movies that actually do sign language. Kevin Spacey has this nephew. He's a lot of fun. He's only in one scene, but he's hilarious. There's a scene, one of the henchmen who gets the Austin Powers mask, which is in the trailer. I'm sure people have seen it, but that's a hilarious scene. He's a great character. The look and the editing of this movie, like all of his movies, is amazing. Every shot was planned. Every edit was planned. It almost seems like the entire movie was just storyboarded out. The pacing's amazing. It's one of those movies where I can't see anybody being bored of it because the pacing is done just so well. Even if you hate movies about car chases and about stuff like stealing and, you know, about kind of gangsters, I suppose, this movie is just so well shot and edited and so quick paced that you kind of don't pay attention to that aspect. You're just watching a film. This is the first movie this year that I've seen where I'm like, that was a film. There's a lot of good music in this movie. It's music that, I'm not a big music guy, so I can't name drop all the songs, but it's put into the movie in a really well-timed manner to the point where I kind of wonder when he shot the movie how they got, if they had the music playing on set or not, because it's really well timed and all of this had to be thought out before the editing process started. So it's really well done. I mean, you have to really congratulate Edgar Wright or whoever else was involved on this for doing just such an amazing job with that. It was excellent. The only thing I could say about this movie is that by the end, yes, things start getting really crazy to the point where your mind starts juggling through how on earth is he going to get out of this situation. And then there's a last second, and it's not really a last second villain, but there is a lot of build up to this villain. You understand why this sudden villain's doing the thing he does. But I kind of wish that he wasn't the villain. I wish it would have been someone else. And a lot of people probably thought it was going to be the other guy, but it wasn't. One guy was not the villain who I thought was going to be. The other guy was someone who bonded with Baby, who ended up being the villain, so I didn't see that coming. And then the other guy, who I thought was going to be a secondary villain, ended up dying early. So it just brings you for a wild turn. I almost wonder if it was all written out sort of like how any action movie would be written out. Like, okay, this person's going to be the villain, this person's going to be a secondary villain, and this guy's going to be the sympathetic one. And I wonder if after they wrote it, they're like, alright, now just change them all up just to be surprising. And it is surprising. And it mostly, I think, pretty close. 99% works. There's just a little bit of me where I was like, okay, this is going a little too far. I don't quite know how the villain is surviving all of these events, but you buy it. You understand it. It's a fun movie. I'd recommend it highly. I hope everyone just go see it. A lot of the performances all the performances are great. Jamie Foxx is great, Jon Hamm's great. It's one of the best, if not the best, summer movie I've seen in a long time. It's probably going to end up being the best movie this year. So please go see this movie.